One mic.
All I need is one mic.
It's just different.
One mic with Big Mike.
The overall tenor of what he's saying is very stupid.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
Maybe it's not racism. Maybe it's placism.
Brother has to know his place, right, Bob?
One mic with Big Mike.
Things aren't always what they seem.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limit.
Don't just tell me that the reason something's being done is because that's the way it's always been done. Because the first thing I'm going to say to you is slavery.
And now, your host.
I got the big homie here who needs no introduction.
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is the One Mic with Big Mike show here with you, your host, Big Mike, back off of an extended weekend, an unplanned extended weekend. I had some technical issues on Friday that kind of pissed me off and spoiled my whole weekend, but we'll get into that as the show moves on. Appreciate you guys for joining me here on a Monday. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Also, Spreaker has an app for all your mobile devices, so I do suggest that you guys go ahead and download that for your situation. I'm also supposed to be live on TuneIn as well. Hadn't checked it. Maybe somebody check that out for me and see if the TuneIn is live again. Also, on my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. You can also catch me live there. Oh, man. Make sure you guys are following me as well on Twitter, Instagram, like my Facebook page at the number one MICWITHBIGMIKE. You can also check out the live stream, the live video stream going on right now on the Facebook page. This thing gave me hell on Friday, man. Something was going on. Had to order a new webcam, using the one I usually use right now, but just to have a backup, because on Friday it took my day. I wasn't able to prepare for the show, so I had to cancel the situation. It was real. I know y'all missed me, right? Wrong. Anyway, you guys can be a part of the show as well. My man Peter Quill's checking in early, crazy early in the chat room. He said he don't want to hear no Falcons hate. You never hear Falcons hate from me. Only perspective, my man. That's all it is. Just perspective and temperance. But you guys can get on up in there with Peter by clicking on that little thought bubble icon you see on the streaming player if you're listening via Spreaker, or if you're listening via my website. Again, it's onemicwithbigmike.com. That's the number one MICWITHBIGMIKE. You can also text the show at 404-902-8104. And I already mentioned the live streaming video on Facebook, my Facebook page, One Mic with Big Mike. You can just leave comments below the streaming video as well, and I'll make sure I check them out periodically through the show. I missed a couple of them last time I did a show on Wednesday, but I did make sure I hollered at you folks when the show was over, once I did see your comments. I do appreciate it all. There was something else I was supposed to mention. Renee told me I was supposed to mention something the other day, but because my mind is bad, I've forgotten. So whatever, maybe it'll come back to me. As far as today goes, man, you know how usually on Monday I come back and it's like a bunch of stuff. You know, I got all this doo-doo I got to get off my brain. Today, not so much. You know, like I say, I was kind of just in a little bit of a funk over the weekend. And usually during my weekend, I do a lot of reading and thinking, and I watch a lot of crazy stuff that I can come back and talk to you guys on Monday about. Not so much this weekend. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know how long the show is going to be tonight. Thankfully, 7:30, the homie Ben Troupe, he's going to join me for Troupe Talk. We're going to break down what we saw in the world of college and pro football over the weekend. We got one game tonight. We'll talk about it here in just a second. The Monday Night Football game, the Cardinals and the Jets going on. I think they playing in New York, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're in New York. I got some baseball in my life this weekend. I'm a big playoff baseball guy. I don't know if you guys watch baseball or watch, a lot of baseball, if you're like me and you watch the playoffs in baseball, but it's so different. It just feels so different, and dudes seem to be more loose, and you get to see these big-time performers do their thing, and emotions run high, and the crowd seems to be in it a lot more. So I enjoy playoff baseball. And luckily for me, what's been happening, it feels like every time that I turn to the game, because I don't just sit down and watch no damn baseball game. I'm not a weirdo, but when I turn from whatever else I'm looking at back to the baseball game, it always seems to be I catch the home runs live. I don't have to catch them on MLB Tonight or ESPN and those things. I end up catching the home runs, the big moments, the big strikeouts and things like that live, so that's cool. At the top of the next hour, of course, I'm going to take a look back into the annals of sports, and we're going to do our thing called On This Day. We're going to talk about, I'm going to give you guys the new AP poll. I go by the AP poll, not the college poll, because college coaches don't have time to watch other teams play ball. The AP is the writers, these guys who watch and cover the sports that vote on these polls. So I think it's a much more accurate poll until we get to the first BCS poll, which I think is coming up here in another week or two, or 2 weeks or something like that. So I'll give you guys the updated polls as far as that goes. Again, most of the stuff today is going to be NFL, including the question of the day brought to us by Sports News and Brews. And this is one of the, this is not my question because, again, just being in the funk, I couldn't think of a damn question of the day today. So I had Renee, I put it on Renee's shoulders, and Renee came up with one of those Cooper specials. And she asked, should pass interference in the NFL be reviewable? And it's one of those things, in the wake of, what we saw yesterday, if you were watching the Seattle Seahawks Atlanta Falcons game, like everybody on my timeline, or everybody that friends me or whatever, hell yeah, you damn right. For example, I got some of these damn replies here. OJ Woods, well, he's the one guy, but again, it always it falls right down the middle of your fandom, right? Because of course you ask the Seahawks fans, nope, it's ball, playing ball. OJ Woods apparently is a Jaguars fan. He says the Jags been getting robbed all year. Suck it up like we have to. Well, that's a little bit different. The Jags they happen to suck. You know what I mean? So for you to tell somebody else to suck it up, your team sucks and they shouldn't. That's another problem. Your man, who's that, Gus Bradley out there? Yeah, that seat's hot as hell because now the talent is there. You got wide receivers out the wazoo. You can sign a free agent running back. You got all this young talent on defense, and the team is garbage. So that's that. Rob Bednarski. Yes, it should be reviewed by the replay judge, then bring it up to the ref if need be. Look, man, here's my take on replay of pass interference. Yesterday aside, these plays happen. The game is moving a lot faster. These dudes are huge. They big. There's going to be a lot of contact, right? And if you start calling everything and reviewing everything, because then if I'm a linebacker, I'm look, man, we got to start reviewing this holding too. These blocks in the backs, we got to start reviewing all of it. And then you get into a situation where if football gets taken over by something it shouldn't be. Look, plays are made and plays are not made, plain and simple. And in the way that the game seems to work out, if you guys have watched as much football as I have, and I'm sure you have, you realize that throughout a 16-game season, these things just kind of find themselves back to you in the end. And they all seem to kind of balance themselves out. A pass interference doesn't get called against Richard Sherman in this game. Well, okay, then a face mask may not get called on Vic Beasley 2 games from now that the Falcons win, coming down the stretch. These things, they balance themselves out. And I know football teaches us to be these creatures of the moment, and these, every week is life or death. But it ain't really that. You know what I mean? Because when you look at it, when you just back away from the game itself, this is why y'all need me, Peter, you and the rest of the Falcons nation, I guess. This is why y'all need me, because I've been in this city my whole life, right? Since I was a kid, dealing with people and not understanding this ridiculous version of fanhood that goes on here in Atlanta. But if you just step back and look big picture, there was one person, I wish I remembered what his handle was on Facebook or I don't know what it was, Instagram, whatever it was. But there's bigger goal. This team is not an undefeated football team. You know what I mean? So to be up and down with every loss seems crazy to me. It seems insane to me. The goal inevitably, and I think Herm used to say this back in the day, give me 10 and you in. You need 10 wins. Now, it's not tried and true every time out, but for the most part, history tells you get you 10 wins and you get into the playoffs. Based on the division that you in, it may get you a wild card. In this division, this NFC South, yeah, you win in a division. So then once you get that under wraps, then you worry about some sort of home field situation. Then after that, you worry about a bye situation. Like, you do it by steps. But this whole hanging on and clutching to each and every loss, it's a little bit for the birds, man. It's like, be more mature as a fan, I guess is what I'm saying, and understand what you're dealing with. Like, yeah, everything that we see is in super slow motion, right? And like, oh my God, I can't believe they missed that. Well, I can. And you should be able to as well. You know, when it all comes down to it, you know, Robert Alford got away with one early in the game. You see a bunch of stuff going on within the line, holding in those type of situations. Look, both teams play good football. And then if you really want to start breaking it all the way down, and we'll get to some of the game stuff here in just a second. If you want to start breaking it all the way down, there was a 3rd and 10 where Matt Ryan could have run for the first down that would have eliminated the need for that 4th down heave. Like, at some point, the accountability needs to be put on the guys who didn't make the plays. They gave the ball away twice. The Falcons, was it twice or 3 times? They gave the ball away, right, on the road in a hostile environment, something that you can't do. Julio Jones, with an opportunity to salt the game away, or at least eat up a bunch of clock, not only drops the football, but ends up tipping it, and Richard Sherman tipping it, and then Earl Thomas making the interception. Like, those are plays that weren't made, that don't involve referees. It just involves your Pro Bowl quarterback and your Pro Bowl wide receiver doing what Pro Bowl players do. And both of them had lapses coming down the stretch. So to then just point everything to that one pass interference call, and now for the cry to be, that needs to be reviewable. I'm good. Because here's the thing. The everything is skewed. The NFL skews everything towards the offense anyway. And half of y'all who's talking about, oh, that was pass interference, oh, Richard Sherman dirty, all this kind of stuff, half y'all that's saying this are the same ones that's always talking about the league need to start putting these dudes in panties and it's about to be flag football, right? Which one you gonna be? Like, at some point, you know, people like to say, you know, fan is short for fanatic. I'm like, whatever. Miss me with that craziness. But get some perspective in your life. You know what I mean? And lose the hypocrisy. Because, again, if it wasn't your team, you'd be all good with it. You know, when nobody tripping when Robert Alford got away with his pass interference. Maybe because you knew eventually he was going to come back and get another one anyway. You know what I mean? Like, that dude, yeah, he's a handsy young man. He's a grabber, isn't he? But nah, man, like, when it's all said and done, me being me and not having a particular dog in the fight, I look back and I look at both of these teams and say, I didn't really learn anything more about these teams than I already knew going in. Felt like they was 2 pretty damn good teams. I feel like the Falcons could score on anybody. They started off slow, of course. You know, Matt Ryan was getting his ass lit up too, boy. They was knocking his ass around. But in the second half, after that, they fell down, 17-3 at the half. Well, they came back and they made, you know, the adjustments. They started keeping more guys in, running backs and tight ends in, to help with the protection, to give Matt some time. Because the one thing about the Seattle Seahawks is this: they do what they do, right? They're not very exotic on defense at all. They do what they do, and say, all right, now you solve the puzzle. And the Atlanta Falcons offensively are good enough to do that, and we saw that in that third quarter when they scored like 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. Yeah, like one of them was a 98-yard drive on this. You know, this one of the best for the last 2 years scoring defenses in the league, which to me makes them the best defense, by the way. Like, all that stuff about like yards and all that kind of stuff, yeah, that's for conversation. The point of defense overall is to keep the opponent out the end zone. So to me, the team that does that the best, not the best against the run or the best against the pass and all this kind of stuff. Perfect example of that. You know, and this goes back to something that Peter Quill got involved in the other day. I forget what was going on, but the comment that gets made all the time is like, numbers never lie. Of course they do. Of course numbers lie. Of course numbers are manipulated. Last week, coming into this week, the Packers are one of the best teams against the run. All right? So that seems like, oh my God, the Cowboys are going to have problems, aren't they? Well, when you look at the teams that the Packers played previous to the Cowboys, they were teams that didn't emphasize the run. And in the words of Sterling Sharp, why drive when you can fly, pimp? So your rushing numbers are going to look better. You know what I mean? You playing the Minnesota Vikings. Name they running back. Yeah, they got a kid from Georgia Southern and this kid, Matt Asiaga. Is Lisa Salters losing weight? I got distracted. This is the One Mic with Big Mike show. They rarely pull back on the camera with her, man. Good for her. Heard right here on Spreaker.com every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 7 o'clock. I usually go to around 9 o'clock. Don't know if I'll make it tonight, though. Oh, yeah, ain't a lot on the plate tonight, boys. So I told Renee before the show, we're going to mix this crap up, throw it in the oven at 7, and see what comes out when we're all done. Because, I don't really it's just so much stupidity was being talked about today. And, of course, I'm going to talk about it, but, I don't really feel strongly about it necessarily. We're going to talk about Kaepernick, of course, and we got to talk about the situation in Dallas with the quarterbacks and what else is going on. The Odell Beckham situation to me is played. That whole thing with the kicking net, move on, B. You know what I mean? Score touchdowns, do your thing, but that whole thing is now, it was only funny when the kicking net hit you in the mouth. The other stuff that you doing with it, I could take it or leave it, whatever. I don't know, man. We'll see what it is, and we'll play around with it and get it. I ain't even watched my show last night, Insecure. I ain't even watched that. I ain't watched the John Oliver show. I ain't watched none of the stuff that I usually, find totally hilarious and ignorant. I didn't get a chance to check it out. So, that is what it is. But going back to this Atlanta Falcons game, they lost the game, of course, 24-26. And this is why I hate love you dudes, man, because you're so predictable. First half down 17-3. Well, see what it was, man. Seattle had a bye last week, so they spent the whole time preparing for the Falcons because that's how bye weeks work. No, I was like, what did I tweet it or whatever? Yeah, I was like, calm the hell down. This is why I don't understand the fandom here in Atlanta. It's 2 halves to a football game. You down, this is the team that can score 40 points. But apparently 17-3 is too much. And now we got to dig deep into the bag of excuses and find the one that fits the situation. Come on, man. Miss me with that, man. That's weak sauce all the way around. It totally is. They had a bye week. Man, you know what these dudes doing their bye week? Leave. That's why. It's an off week. They leave. And then come back and start preparing for the following week. Ain't nobody crushing on the Falcons like that. Oh, man, I got to cram for this Falcons game. Instead of resting my body, I got a quarterback with a torn knee ligament, got bad ankles and all kind of stuff. Yeah, this dude is resting and getting treatment. That man was talking about he was waking up every hour on the hour getting his knee and ankle treated. Come on, man. That's the other thing, too. Going into the game, I was wondering what Russell Wilson, not Russell Westbrook, another conversation for another day, Russell Wilson was going to look like, because, his part of his game is his ability to escape and his ability to be mobile. And you saw yesterday he wasn't very mobile. And even with that, the Falcons couldn't get to him. That was, so, now it's back to life, back to reality for all the, oh my God, Vic Beasley has finally found a pot of gold. No, he didn't. It was fool's gold. I'm the guy, and Peter will probably consider this to be Falcons hate, but you got to do it more than 1 week against a backup injured tackle. You got to do it more than that. You know what I mean? And maybe he should have saved 1.5 of those and stop saying he had 4 sacks last week. They break him down into halves. For the sake of accuracy, he had 3.5 sacks last week. Good afternoon statistics wise, but once again, I saw all of the sacks again, and it was very rudimentary, very basic speed rushing. taking advantage of the kids. The kid, I think the kid who was blocking him had a shoulder and an elbow situation going on, and they didn't have an alternative. He had to play. You know what I mean? So it like one game can't make a season. And I mean that on the positive side and the negative side, because if you're a Falcons fan, you know nothing more about your squad yesterday or today than you did yesterday before that game. It's a team that can get out there and perform against anybody offensively. It's also a team that has its problems on the defensive side of the football. You got some guys back healthy yesterday, which is going to help, but they still young dudes. And that defense is still going to take some time to become something, if it is going to become something. That's what you know about this team. Other than that, move on. Julio Jones said it, right? Move on. Move on. San Diego this weekend. They come into the Dome. You got 2 back-to-back games in the Dome. That should feel good. The problem is Phillip Rivers and that record that they have, it makes them look like a worse team than they are. I talked about it last week with Matt Latofsky, my fantasy guy from the Sporting News. And this team looks like a garbage team. By the way, they just beat the Broncos on Thursday night. So it looks like a garbage team record-wise, but they only garbage for like a few, you know what I mean? They garbage for like a few minutes every game, and like the worst possible thing, the thing that could happen worse happens to them seemingly every week. So this ain't no game where the Falcons can just show up and like, oh man, Danny Woodhead's hurt, Keenan Allen's hurt, Antonio Gates is old as hell. It ain't really that, because the one thing that the Falcons don't do well, getting to the passer, and the one thing that the Chargers do bring to the table, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as the game draws near, is a very good passer in Phillip Rivers. You know what I mean? And he ain't a dude that's going to move around a lot. You know what I mean? He going to stand right there and throw that damn ball. Shout out to the boy Rob Calloway, the procurer. Is that the word I'm looking for? Procurer of the HBCU report with Rob Calloway here on Spreaker on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. He says, I've been saying all day, Julio not catching that pass that turned into the Seattle interception was huge. Yeah, there's a show that I want to tell you guys about, and it's crazy because it don't come on at any particular time. And I used to have it set on my DVR, but for whatever reason, I must have deleted it. But it's called Turning Point on NBC. And Dan Patrick hosts it. But what it is, it's one of those film study shows for people who are into that, so that you don't have to rely on watching the TV copy. You get the all 22. You get someone who's telling you what's happening during the ball game, and you get a better perception of what really happened. Like yesterday. Right, when Julio Jones, I don't know if that was his first touchdown, the touchdown that after he caught it, Richard Sherman ended up going off on the sideline. And I saw the play again today, and I realized what happened. I think I realized what happened. He was mad because he was still in one coverage. Julio motioned from the other side, which would have taken them out of the man-to-man coverage that they were initially in, but playing corner. If you're playing bump and run corner on a wide receiver, the call has to be echoed to you. You know what I mean? It has to be echoed over to you that no, we're out of that now. We're out of that now. And I'm gonna assume that he was pissed, and the reason he was directing his anger, but he seemed so animated towards Cam Chancellor because that would have been Cam. Cam would have been the one echoing the call to him, but they had another guy in, the guy that's not used to starting. And apparently the call didn't get to him. So Richard Sherman is still in man. Everybody else is playing 3 deep. And boom, you got a bust in the coverage on the best wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Yeah, that's enough to be pissed about. Good defenses run on communication. There's a lot of things that are being said. That's why I'm advising you guys, check out that show, Turning Point, man, because all of that stuff is in there. You hear dudes talking, not just pre-snap, but you hear dudes on defense talking post-snap. During the football game. It's an awesome watch, and it'll give you a whole lot more when you start going into these arguments with people about what you saw and what really happened. It'll give you a whole lot more perspective and kind of an ability to zoom out as to what's going on. So this game has inspired the question of the day. It's a Renee Cooper special. It's one of those yes or no things, so I had to kind of weed through all the yes, yeses, and the people who chose to elaborate. I've taken your answers. The question of the day is brought to us by, of course, the man who's in the chat room right now, Rob Calloway's website, sportsnewsandbrews.com. Let me read a couple more of these real quick. Somebody sent me a picture with it. Taryn Thomas, he says, I mean, this kind of shouldn't need to be reviewed. The ball is nowhere to be found. And he sends me a screenshot of the Julio Jones play at the end. It's like, I mean, I get what you're saying. But if we're going to have that conversation, we got to have a whole conversation on why the Falcons were even in that position to begin with. You know, they didn't play a real clean ball game. You know, and when you start giving good football teams, which the Seattle Seahawks is, like the Seattle Seahawks are who the Atlanta Falcons want to be. Not necessarily stylistically, but a team that every year they're in the conversation when it comes to championship contenders. The Falcons have been really, hot and cold and wet and dry when it comes to that. They want to be a team that's consistently in that conversation because in actuality, the more you knock on the door, the better chance that you have of finally breaking through and winning that that elusive championship to the great city of Atlanta. Peter Quill saying he's in the chat room, by the way. You guys can join him. Just click that little thought bubble you see on the streaming player if you're listening via Spreaker or my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. I've been saying some calls need to be reviewed before the game yesterday. Yeah, but like, how do you choose which ones though? That's the thing. Like, how do you choose which is more important? Like, I wrestle back and forth between the NFL and college style pass interference more than anything, because sometimes I think because of the way the rules are in the NFL, it bails bad quarterbacks out. You know what I mean? It bails bad decisions out. Now, you may not see that throw yesterday as a bad decision, but okay, Julio Jones is awesome. But those two dudes that was covering him, they're Pro Bowlers too. That's not a really good decision, because the way I look at the situation, without even seeing the entire field, if there's two on Julio, there's one on Mohamed Sanu, or there's one on Jacob Tammey, or there's one on Devontae Freeman. You understand what I'm saying? So the way the NFL does it like, okay, let me chunk this ball 50 yards in the air, have my underthrow it, have my wide receiver come back, and now you get the ball at like the 4-yard line when you started out at like the 44-yard line. I don't know. Like, sometimes I feel like, yeah, maybe it should be that way, but in other times I feel like maybe it should just be 15 yards, man, and not over reward the offense. I wrestle back and forth with that all the time. So I don't know. Maybe that's something we can ask Ben Troupe about when he joins me here in another, 4 minutes or so. Ben Troupe joining me as he does each and every Monday for Troupe Talk, where we break down the college and pro football games from over the weekend. But see, even in the situation, Peter's saying he thinks the coaches should get the flag as an option to challenge it. Well, even in that situation, under 2 minutes, it goes to the booth anyway. You see what I'm saying? So it wouldn't be on Dan Quinn to challenge it with the current rules as they stand right now. Anyway, we'll talk about this some more, because I got some previous quotes from Dan Quinn when he was the defensive coordinator of those same Seattle Seahawks, and part of his responsibility in the way those dudes play. If you watch this team play football, man, they are a very handsy group, and they test the referees a lot. You know what I mean? They test them to see what can go and what can't go. They're able to adjust on either side of the ledger, and that's what I think makes that Legion of Boom, that secondary, so fierce and so good at what they do. Richard Sherman's not dirty. Richard Sherman's a good damn cornerback. Julio Jones is a good damn wide receiver, and two dudes battling, man, and it came down to a desperation heave. And if you're on the other side of that, you don't want to see your team lose on something like that. And for this is the last thing I'm gonna say, that whole ignorance that Rodney Harrison spewing, that cost him the game. Bull. It's at the 40-yard line. You know what I mean? The 40-yard line, 90 seconds to go. They still playing defense. You know what I mean? So even if the call gets made, the Falcons still got work to do. It can't just be as simple as that. Man, we lost because of that. Nah. Like, be for real. Be an adult. You feel me? Speaking of adults, we're going to talk to one coming up here. Ben Troupe is going to join me for Troupe Talk, like I just mentioned, right here on the One Mic with Big Mike show. And after we do that, I got to do On This Day, and we'll get into some other stuff here as well. As far as the world of college football, some decisions were made while I was out, so we're going to get into that as well. I'm here, Spreaker.com, the Spreaker app. I'm also on TuneIn, and, of course, OneMicWithBigMike.com. All the shows are on demand after the fact on all those outlets, as well as on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Music, and YouTube. You can get the audio and the video on the YouTube situation. How you love that. All right, man, we're going to take a break. I'll be right back.
I have one question for you.
Do you or someone you know run a business that could benefit from additional exposure? The One Mic with Big Mike show is currently taking on new sponsors and advertisers. One Mic with Big Mike is currently syndicated across 8 different online platforms, and your company's name could be heard and seen across all 8 as well.
Let's get to work.
Please send all inquiries to Mike at onemicwithbigmike.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued support.
All I need is one mic.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So, of course, we all know there's lots of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. But here's the thing. This problem is entirely solvable. Seriously, we already produce more than enough healthy, nutritious food in this country to feed every single last one of those hungry kids. We just need a way to get it to them. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is out there every day gathering surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families all across the country. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're Feeding America.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Now back to One Mic with Big Mike.
And here we go!
All the hoes popping. Popping. I don't know the words. Need a hood in word. Anyway, back to the One Mic with Big Mike show. Welcome back to the One Mic with Big Mike show here on Spreaker every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. You guys make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the number 1 MICWITHBIGMIKE. Also, like my Facebook page, same handle, and I'm also streaming live video there right now, so you can hop on the old Facebook and check it out and comment and all those things. You can also text the show at 404-902-8104 or jump inside my live interactive chat room. If you're listening via Spreaker, just click on that little thought bubble icon you see. You can jump on in there like the rest of these damn idiots. This dude, Rob Calloway. Yeah, like Rob is the king of like the inside joke. Michael Sherman. No one else knows what that is, dude, but me and your dumb ass. Anyway, it's that time of the week where we review what we saw over the weekend. And by we, I mean me and my man, SEC All-American NFL second-round draft pick Ben Troupe. We call it Troupe Talk.
It's time for Troupe Talk.
What you talking about?
We're talking NFL and college football with former NFL and SEC tight end Ben Troupe.
Ben Troupe at the 15, at the 10, hurdles a man, spins to the 5. Oh my, still on his feet, still pounding to the goal line. He's gonna score! He's gonna score!
Troupe Talk. Troupe Talk.
We heading to the top if you come
on.
One Mic with Big Mike.
Man, yeah. Troupe Talk here on a Monday. Make sure you guys are following Ben on Twitter and Instagram at BENTROUPE84. Ben, what's happening, brother? How was your weekend, man?
Man, weekend was great, man. Blessed as usual, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. So last week when we talked, both of us kind of agreed that this Florida LSU thing wasn't going to happen, but they made it happen. And I saw you kind of getting into it with some people on the old social media, but it felt to me so much like your squad, man, like Florida got strong-armed in this thing, man. And when your man came out and he reminded everybody of that little SEC rule that if you don't play 8 conference games, you're not eligible to play in the SEC championship or win your division champion, your division title. Well, like, look, man, if I'm LSU, I don't care. I'm not going to Atlanta anyway. But if I'm Florida, I'm like, all right, I got to play the game because they have a realistic chance of finding themselves in that SEC championship. So get everybody caught up as to, first of all, what your feelings are being a Florida alum, and some of the things that you were going back and forth with some people about on social media in regards to this situation.
Well, obviously, with everything that happened, with Hurricane Matthew, it kind of pushed everything back, and then South Carolina, Georgia didn't add; it only added to it because people kept saying, "Well, the LSU AD said he would fly LSU in on that Sunday," but people fail to realize that you have to have security. You have to have a lot of bodies that it takes to to run a SEC game or a college football game, where those bodies was dedicated, to those people who was affected by the hurricane, and the whole going back and forth on Twitter. First and foremost, to the people that follow me on Twitter, and the people I hope, please don't take the things I say serious. These people really saying at bench. I think it was funny. That's why I put my last tweet. I was like, I just like dialogue because some of this stuff is just too funny. A lot of these, I had this guy tell me, I'm not one of these people that hide behind a computer screen and just say a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, that's exactly what you're doing. I'm like, that's exactly what you're doing. Like, like the difference is I know who you are. I'm not gonna know you as your Twitter name if you see me in a bar or something. But it was. But you know what? I am happy that cooler heads prevail. Yeah, LSU isn't really playing for anything. And yes, Florida's definitely in the driver's seat to control their own destiny, go to the SEC championship game, or even repeat as Eastern Division champions. But the biggest thing is, people kept trying to say that Jeremy Foley or Florida was holding up negotiations or whatever. But you got to think, we're in the midst of a hurricane. Mm-hmm. People trying to, people forget the fact. Oh, yeah, y'all could have just came to LSU this, that, and the third, but LSU athletic director does not like the fact that he has to play Florida. Like he has made it known, which is fine. But I am happy at the fact that Florida has to play for something, and Jeremy Foley is willing to just play the game over there because the LSU coach said something that's so funny. He says when they asked him, "Are you guys going to just play Florida and not play South Alabama?" He's going to say, "Our fans would be devastated if they didn't get this home game." I just think it was crazy, but I am happy that everything got settled.
Yeah, and then the compromise, so that everybody knows that now for the next 2 years, LSU has to go to Florida instead of it being a back and forth. They got to go to Florida for the next 2 years. Let's talk Brian Kelly and Notre Dame, and from the first game of the season, it's not even before that, even before the first game was played. That dude's handling of that quarterback situation seemed like he was going to be the undoing of that squad, and it's playing out just that way. In the last game, when they played in the hurricane that you just spoke about against North Carolina State, when it was all said and done, he came back and he did all the finger pointing at at the center, and the snaps weren't good. It's like, my man, we in a hurricane, first of all, and you decide you want to throw the ball 26 times. Where they do that at? You know what I mean? Like, how that work? You got a quarterback that can run the football. Malik Zaire is your running quarterback, and you got the other kid, Deshaun Kaiser, who's the better pocket passer. Well, if you're going to play the two quarterback thing, why not use your running quarterback in a damn hurricane instead of trying to throw the ball 26 times? So my question for you is this. I think I read a couple times that he just signed in January a 6-year extension, but apparently that's not enough to keep his seat from not being hot. And then secondly, as a player, as a former big-time college football player, how does that play out for his guys when he's constantly, because that wasn't the first time. Last week wasn't the first time he threw the players under the bus. And as you see them play in football games, it really don't feel like these guys have run through the wall for him, Ben.
Well, look at it. I mean, the players understand that the coach is going to be good regardless. That 6-year contract means that every dollar in there has to be paid to him, whether he wins or loses or he gets fired.
Yes, indeed.
So when you think about it, coaches can't lose in college. Coaches can't lose, period. When you think about it, they have buyout clauses, meaning we have to pay you to leave. I don't even know if you can't even fire me without me feeling bad because you still owe me my money and even getting back to the. And think about it. Throwing these players under the bus just shows me that you got two kinds of coaches. You got coaches that care about their players, and you got coaches that just coach guys. And I just think he's a coach that just coach guys, because you mean to tell me out of all the excuses you can give, the best one you got is to throw your players under the bus?
Yeah.
The players that are trying to execute the players that you're calling, the players that are trying to catch passes in the hurricane when you got a quarterback that can run, that only makes sense to you. But if I go against the grain and say I don't want to play, then I'm a distraction, then I get kicked off the team. I just think that college football players are always stranglehold because they really have to do what they told. They can't buck. Because if they buck, they obviously going to be seen as a scapegoat, this, that, and the third. But I just think that I've always felt that coaches have representation. but because of amateurism, which is in the bylaws or the rules and guidelines,
and it's so stupid.
Players can't do nothing. Players ain't got no representation, and they have to just accept it. And you look at the Kirby Smart situation, you look at the Mark Richt situation. This is a similar situation. You go to schools for coaches, for certain coaches, and this coach might not be here. What does that say about me? I have to live with the new coach they bring in, or I have to be willing to transfer and hope that my transfer, they actually let me go to the school that I choose.
Right. The other voice that you're hearing is former Florida Gators All-American at tight end, Ben Troupe. He's also a second-round pick from the Titans in 2004. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram at BENTROUPE84. Bama withstanding, what does a good college football team look like? Because we've seen a lot this weekend. We've seen Clemson continue to struggle. We saw Louisville struggle on Friday. We saw we saw Ohio State struggle against Wisconsin, which I think Wisconsin's a good football team. Don't get it twisted. But outside of Alabama, what does a good Houston, dude? Tulsa almost got them a week after they took an L to Navy, my man. What does a good college football team look like, not named Alabama, Ben?
I think you got a couple of them out there. I mean, I don't think people are talking about Washington enough.
Yes.
And and like you say, Washington is actually not benefiting from the fact that because of where they are, their geographic location and their times. Listen, even though they got one loss, and even though it wasn't as impressive, Louisville is still a team that can still make some noise. I know it's that Clemson game. Clemson is a team, in my opinion, that it depends on who they playing. Because NC State ain't no slouch. Make no mistake about it. That's a good team too. Michigan is still a good team. Ohio State is still a good team. And Alabama is just the gold standard. Alabama, even if you don't root for them, even if you don't like them, you expect them to. It shocks you when Alabama loses. That's breaking news every time because it doesn't happen often.
Should that kid Jalen Hurts be in the Heisman running?
You better believe it.
And then
because
this the reason I'm asking you.
I believe he should be because the way in which, for one, he's a young guy, and somebody even said this might be the best team Alabama ever had. Wow. I mean, considering what they don't have, because in the past they've had the Julio Joneses and the big name guys. Yeah. They got Stephen Ridley. They got really a receiver. Other than that, so I just think that. This guy should be in the Heisman Trophy. He should be in the Heisman running because he's on the number one team in the country, and you take him off that team, they're a totally different team. And
the other reason I asked you this is because looking around, and we talked a little bit about Jabril Peppers last week, and we kind of differ on our opinion. I love Jabril Peppers. I think Jabril Peppers
I got to revamp that statement I said about you.
You look up football player, and it's him, man. And the other reason, look how many guys have probably dropped out of it. I think I know people are saying Dalvin Cook should be creeping back into it, but Leonard Fournette's out of the Heisman Trophy running, right? Christian McCaffrey's hurt.
Dalvin Cook's not going to win it now.
Yeah, so Christian McCaffrey's out. So it's some room in there for some other people. JT Barrett, he still got his face in there. The last couple of weeks, your man, our guy Lamar Jackson ain't been really doing Lamar Jackson things. So it's some room in there for a guy like, and I'm gonna ask you this: you think a guy like Jabril Peppers has a legitimate chance on taking the Heisman Trophy home for another defensive player for the University of Michigan?
If he doesn't win the Heisman this year, it definitely won't be because his head coach ain't going to bat for him. I mean, I love the fact that Harbaugh is doing what he's doing for this man. He's not afraid to say how great of a player he is, the coach. So if he doesn't win it, it won't be because his coach isn't doing everything he can to pub this man up, because he understands that to win the Heisman on defense, you have to be something special, which Peppers is. This boy is something special, and for him to be, and for Coach Harbaugh to come out and say he's the one player that no matter where I put him at, he's going to excel. It doesn't matter where. The guy plays linebacker now. I mean, he's at linebacker just to. So I just think that he should definitely be in the Heisman Trophy. He should definitely, him and JT Barrett, Lamar Jackson, Watson until he loses is going to be there. But I just like the fact that nobody who was in it last year is even going to be a finalist this year.
Yeah, and then my dark horse is going to be that kid that plays quarterback in Washington. The last thing I got for you on the college side before we move over to what we normally do and we switch over to the NFL stuff. the Big 12 just announced that they won't be expanding. And I mentioned earlier in the conversation, your man Herman, the head coach over at Houston, and things don't seem to be looking all the way up for him. And what I'm gonna ask you is, there seems to be a link between him staying at Houston and them joining the Big 12. But now the Big 12 is like, nope, no expansion here. Is it almost like a sure shot that my man is gone? Like, as soon as whatever happens with Charlie Strong happens, or if LSU comes calling with a bag of money or the Brinks truck pull up at his house, he ain't going to be at Houston too much longer. That's not no 10-year job. That's a stepping stone job. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're definitely right. I think Herman is in a great. I think he got some good problems on his hands. I mean, because you got to think, like you say, because he got Houston ties, because he got Texas ties. Obviously, Texas gonna come calling, but LSU was hard to say no to.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, they're both prestige. One is obviously the best team in the state, while the other one is in the SEC. So I don't think you can lose either way. But I just really think it's gonna depend on how he ends the year, because Houston gonna have to play well down the stretch for him to even get that recognition, because LSU is a very, very hot seat. Texas is because he's in that state.
Yeah. He's been Troupe, former NFL and SEC tight end, SEC All-American. Make sure you guys follow him at Ben, TROUPE 84 on Twitter and Instagram. This is our weekly segment called Troupe Talk. Let's move on over to the land of the NFL. The big story today, especially here in my fair city of Atlanta, is the game that took place in the great Northwest yesterday between the Falcons and the Seahawks. Now, you're a guy who played a lot of NFL football, and since you played, the rules have kind of evolved somewhat as far as the things that can be done to the pass catchers and things of that nature. Before you came on, I was talking about how at a certain point, like, the defense got to get something, don't they, Ben? I know you're an offensive guy, and I know we can all agree that the final play could have and should have probably been called pass interference. But with everything that's in place right now, you can't touch them past 5 yards. You can't do this. No arm bars, no face guard, none of this stuff. At some point, when you're in a situation where two great players are in a position to make a play, you kind of got to let them battle it out, don't you?
You can, you should, but you're a referee for a reason. They pay you to make those hard calls. And at the end of the day, listen, as a former football player, I don't like the fact that I can predict what happens before it happens. As soon as Julio comes off the line and he beats Richard Sherman, I know it's going to be pass interference because he's already beat him. See, as soon as he came off the line, listen, the one thing that you hear a DB say, two things a DB can't do. You can't get the ball thrown over your head, and you can't be trailing. He was both. The ball was thrown over his head, and he's trailing. So the thing is, the only shot he got is to pull his arm. So he's pulling his arm, and it seems like he's pulling his arm for the ball when the ball is getting simultaneously, but he wasn't. He's pulling his arm. And the thing about this, if you notice, Richard Sherman wasn't going off when Julio was jumping up saying it was a penalty. He ain't even making no, because he know he did it. Oh man, but they just gave it to him, and it's just one of those things to where I can live with losing, but they pay referees to make calls. You ain't got no horse in this race, man. You got to make it, and I appreciate Dan Quinn the way he handled it though. When he said, "Listen, we just didn't make enough plays. We ain't have no turnovers." He went the professional way, but in his mind, that's interference all day long, man. Because, like I say, I do think you should let them battle it out, but they pay you to make calls, and if you don't make the calls they pay you to make, you shouldn't be out there.
What do we know? What do you know? I say my answer is nothing. What do you know now, after the game, about either of these teams that you didn't know before the game was played? I think that Atlanta's really opened up some eyes. Because when you go up against a team and a defense like Seattle, and you're able to do what they did against a guy like Julio Jones, for whom nobody seems to have an answer for, I can appreciate the fact that Alabama is kind of getting. Atlanta is getting out of that. They ain't pretenders. Another thing I learned is Seattle defense ain't that good. I mean, they just not. So?
I mean, people can say whatever they want. No, you got to think too. They win games because of Russell Wilson and the offense. Yes, their defense can make plays and opportunities, type times, but you got to think, man. If Russell Wilson ain't a quarterback and he can't find a way to, treat the ball down the field, they lose. Because I always say this: great defensive coordinators do not get beat by the best player on the other team. So when you look at what happened against Atlanta, Seattle's defensive coordinator didn't earn his money. Just like Baltimore and the Giants. Whoever Baltimore defensive coordinator is, he don't deserve a dime. Because you covering Odell Beckham Jr. 1-on-1, you're supposed to lose.
Here's what I say about that, though. Like, in watching the game, I do, because I've been critical of Kyle Shanahan on this show. I will give him credit because a lot of what he did to free Julio Jones up, he would motion him from one side to the other, but not all the way. He would motion him into the slot, giving him a two-way go. That I know that's a hard position to double somebody in when they're in motion, and especially when they don't even rock all the way over, they stop in the slot. The best of the best defensive coordinators going to have problems with that. So I think not only to say there was a deficiency with Seattle, but there's some props to be given to Kyle Shanahan for the game plan and freeing up his best receiver, understanding that a good defense is going to try to take him out of the game. Let's go to that other team that everybody seems to be so surprised about in the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott finally threw an interception, but he also threw three touchdowns as well. Ezekiel Elliott is still doing his thing. What I want you to do, Ben, for me is, because everyone seems to be on the, this got to be Dak Prescott team. As a veteran football player, a guy who a lot of veterans don't believe that you should lose your job to injury, you make the case. Whether you believe it or not, make the case for Tony Romo. Make me believe that Tony Romo should start when he comes back.
It's hard to make that case.
Yeah, no, I'm asking the hard-hitting questions now.
Like Anderson Cooper. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Tony Romo just happens to have a great Robin, to his Batman. Like, he just happened to have a person that came out of nowhere. And this is the one thing that Prescott is benefiting from. He doesn't have a lot of tape against him. Yes, people are going to look at, because he gets better from game to game. And it's hard to game plan a person don't have a lot of film. Number two is, to every rule there is an exception. And I think Dak Prescott is the exception. And sometimes, as my daddy was saying, in order to be the exception, you have to be exceptional. And that's what Dak is. Now, Tony Romo has earned his spot because of what he's done. His resume says he's supposed to get back in there. But this is the one thing I'm going to say. I can appreciate the fact that Dak Prescott, he actually wants him to get in there. Listen, I want to see Tony get in there because Tony Romo has the body of a 55-year-old man. He's just 36 or whatever he is. His body can't take no pounding.
Yeah.
So I'd rather let Tony get out there. If Tony goes out there, he plays better than me, I'm gonna root for Tony the rest of the year. But if Tony struggles, at least you got a ready and able starter to come off the bench. So I think Tony can't lose. And number two is you can't pay him that much money for him to watch. You just can't. You cannot make that much money and just watch. So
and there's the argument.
I just think Tony Romo got to get it. He just got to get in there.
And the other thing too, I think there's a narrative surrounding Tony Romo. Like people talk about this dude like he's some bum ass quarterback. This dude, the last 24 games he started, he's 20-24 in those ball games. Like, this is a good NFL quarterback. The problem is, like you just mentioned, his body's been betraying him here in the last couple of years, and he hasn't seen the field as much as he should. And now, as with a lot of things, you get the new flavor. You get Dak Prescott, this new exciting flavor, and it's easy to forget, how good the guy who he replaced is. We're talking right now to Ben Troupe on our weekly segment, Troupe Talk. He is Georgia-Florida game Hall of Famer to be. Has it already happened, Ben, or is it about to happen?
No, it's actually for the game. So.
It's what now?
It's actually going to be before the game. So next week around this time, next Friday, I think the 28th, I'm going to get that inducted. I'm actually getting inducted in with Jeff Chandler. I can't remember the other guy from Georgia, but I know Marcus Stroud is another guy. Yeah. He's one of the guys from Georgia. There's two guys from Georgia, two guys from Florida. So, and I played against Marcus Stroud, and I played with Jeff Chandler. And I always say this, man. I mean, I can love to see him say I was this great, super dynamic player, man, but I just appreciate, the honor, man, and to be able to be recognized in this game, and to be a part of something, be a part of this great tradition forever. It's some humbling stuff.
My man. Yeah, that dude, Stroud, we've talked to Stroud on the Sports Kings before. He's a wild boy. What were you expecting to see out of Colin Kaepernick this weekend? I talked about it last week on Wednesday, and I was like, I just didn't want the dude to suck. After a year off, like, don't suck. And like, he kind of did. You kind of did yesterday. Like, what did you expect?
You know what? I expected Colin Kaepernick to play as well as he could, and the offense is not built for the NFL.
And that team is bad,
too. No matter what anybody says about Chip Kelly, you have an offense that's not built for the league. the only season you had that was successful was your first one. Because the one thing the league does, it gonna catch up.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the Wildcat? It came and went. Goodbye. Because people are going to catch up. What makes a good offense a great offense is when people implement it into their offenses that help their whole team be successful. You're the only person in the league running this offense. Nobody else runs it. Nobody. And ain't nobody else trying to run it. And I think what Colin Kaepernick, one person he needs to help him progress as a quarterback is the head coach of Michigan now. Harbaugh, in my opinion, is the only one that can help him because he played the position. He knows how to get the best out of Colin. He knows how to put Colin in the best situation.
Right.
But Colin is a long ways away from them teams he was on. Patrick Willis and Frank Gore and Hanquan Bolden and Vernon Davis and the list go on. And the thing is this: people say, "Yeah, man, can one player do it?" No. And unfortunately, he's in an offense that is handicapping him because that offense, man, is built to score points, in rapid paces, and then it makes your defense be on the field so long. I just think he did the best he could given the situation, but unfortunately, he's only out there because Blaine Gabbert is awful, and he's making $11 million.
Yeah, and now Chip Kelly saying he'll get the start again this weekend. I think this one's at home against the Buccaneers, so hopefully there'll be some sort of progression. Like I rarely, if ever, root for a player, but I think his play is so linked to so much more important things. Like I want him to be at least an NFL looking quarterback. You feel me? Speaking of NFL looking quarterbacks and guys who don't look like him, that Brock Osweiler situation is turning sour quickly. And here's the thing I said about it, Ben. Like people are gonna want to say, oh man, that's what you get for leaving that situation. But this is what I thought initially about Brock Osweiler's decision. It wasn't just about the money or about the disrespect. He probably felt as though I was going to a similar team, a team that's built on defense, a team that wasn't going to ask me to do too much, got a primetime wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. Like I can go out there and play in this bad division and pretty much do the same thing without having the pressure of being the guy that followed the guy. What is your take on the Brock Osweiler situation, Ben?
I think Brock Osweiler went to Houston because he understood the expectations weren't going to be the same. And you can't hide when you defend the Super Bowl champion.
Right.
Yes, I get to go to Houston because one, I get to be the guy. Two, I have no competition
and more money
out of my position, and I'm making more money. And number two is this was crazy. I'd rather leave a competitive situation to go to a less competitive situation, and I'm still not even competing at a high level to even win in Houston. Now, true indeed, we was able, to come back and beat an Indianapolis team that's really they reeling too. They're not that good either.
Right.
They awful too. So the thing about it is it's like Brock Osweiler, in my opinion, is the reason why people play quarterback. I don't even need a whole season. I can give you a small sample size, and through that sample size, I can get $40 million guaranteed, 4 years, $72 million. But unfortunately, I just happen to be in a very, very weak division, and I'm still eking out wins. Because if I play anybody of significance, I look pedestrian. But then if I play an Indianapolis team within my division, I might look okay. I just think that, while I don't blame him for getting his money because I'm always in favor of players getting their money, Brock Osweiler hasn't played enough football to garner the type of attention and money he has. But now, because you are, you're getting paid like a franchise quarterback, you're just not performing like him.
Hey, last thing I got for you. The Cam Newton thing, like the pouty face thing, is it's old for me. Like I defended that dude after the Super Bowl because I went on this whole thing about this long season and it being so successful, the MVP, and it culminating in this big disappointment. That coupled with the fact that the homie was right behind him talking about how they beat the hell out of him during the game, the frustration built up. But look, man, we talking about Week 6 regular season game against the New Orleans Saints. At some point, my man. Like the whole pouty face, I feel so bad for myself thing, doesn't it get kind of old? Especially like if you're a teammate, don't that get old?
It's been old. And the thing about Cam Newton, I still think he's an incredible player. You see what he brings to the entire team.
Yeah.
That defense really, they just can't keep you by the end zone right now. But the thing about Cam Newton, I would just ask him, I would be like, what makes you think you hurting more than me?
Right. Exactly.
Like, what makes you think you want to win more than me? It's like the only difference is you got a mic in your face, right? And we all lost. But see, at a certain point, man, you got to realize that your maturation and your celebrity will be based on your post-game interviews. And that's your fault. So you put yourself in that situation. And it's one of those, even the Gatorade commercial you got, you pound thing. And it's like at the end of the day, listen, it's not that you respond, it's how you respond. And we know you want to lose, but the thing about it is every time you win, oh man, it's all smiles. What's up, everybody? War Eagle, whatever you want to yell out.
Right.
Every time you lose, it's like, my dude, listen, somebody, you like a child, if somebody stole your toy or something, it's going to be all right. You have lost before. Y'all a long ways away from 15-1. Y'all can let that last season go.
This is true.
I just think with Cam, he has to understand, just like a Colin Kaepernick, you represent something bigger. You represent something so much bigger. And because you got that MVP on your resume, everything you do going to be scrutinized. Don't go on ESPN, E60 and say, man, I looked at those interviews and I realized, Cam, you can't be like that. Well, reverted back to it. Come on, man. Answer the question. It's 15 minutes out your life. Answer the question, go home. It's not that serious, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you've lost before. You act like you've just experienced so much winning. You had a winning season last season, but you lost a lot before last season.
Right.
So, man, let's grow from it. Let's learn from it. And stop making it as even it's the end of the world, man. I'm going to say this just like I told Donovan, that you make too much money to be a jerk. You just do. Let's move on, man.
Well, man, Ben, we're going to do it again next week, brother. I appreciate your time as always, man.
Appreciate it.
It's my man Ben Troupe, former SEC and NFL tight end. He joins me every week here on the One Mic with Big Mike show for Troupe Talk. Make sure you guys are following him on Twitter and Instagram at Ben TROUPE 84. We're going to come back. We got to do on this day my daily look back. And I want to get a little bit more into this Cam Newton conversation. We got some more Atlanta Falcons stuff that we want to get into. Shout out to everybody checking in on the old Facebooky here. The homie Keith Wright, first time listening. Nice show. Well, thank you, my man. I try. I thought it was going to be a big-time crap show tonight, and it could still turn out to be that way. Ben saved the show a lot of Mondays, so, yeah, fingers crossed on that one. Anyway, man, we're going to, where am I at? We're going to take a break here, come back, do all those things I just mentioned right here on the One Mic with Big Mike show.
I have one question for you.
Do you or someone you know run a business that could benefit from additional exposure? The One Mic with Big Mike show is currently taking on new sponsors and advertisers. One Mic with Big Mike is currently syndicated across 8 different online platforms, and your company's name could be heard and seen across all 8 as well.
Let's get to work.
Please send all inquiries to Mike at onemicwithbigmike.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued support.
All I need is one mic.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
One Mic.
All I need is one mic.
What's the name of the show?
One Mic with Big Mike.
Ain't nobody getting hurt, ain't nobody, there's no crime being committed.
And they say his style is too urban for the radio.
This is real life stuff that's happened to me.
Well, you know what?
You, and you.
One Mic with Big Mike.
I like to be able to do what I want to do.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limits.
Meek Mill's concert is not called the Hell Yeah I Banged Khloe Kardashian concert.
And now, your host.
Put your hands together for the one, the only
Big Mike.
One Mic. Yep, it is the one and only One Mic with Big Mike. I, of course, am the aforementioned Big Mike here on Spreaker.com. I'm also on the Spreaker app and live on TuneIn and my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. You can also catch live streaming video on the Facebook page, which is at the number 1 MICWITHBIGMIKE. If you don't get a chance to stick around for the entire show, if you missed the Troupe Talk segment from this week, you can always go back and check it out on demand on all the outlets I've already mentioned, as well as on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Music, and YouTube. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the old YouTube channel as well as the iTunes channel. And again, there was something that Renee told me to mention. I swear it was. She told me to mention it last week, and now I can't remember what it is. That's why I have to write stuff down. Like, I'm going to clean up this area, my work area here, and, like, show you guys, like, the inner guts and the workings of this thing I do 3 times a week, but I can't now because there's, like, crap everywhere. But, like, I have to have, like, signs posted. That's why when you see me turn my face over here and over here, I'm looking at stuff so I can remember. Even though I say the same thing every damn show, yeah, I work like a computer. If it's not written down in front of me, like Ron Jeremy. You know what I mean? If it's written, subscribe. No, it wasn't that. It was something else. I guess, okay, subscribe to Google Play Music too if you're an Android user. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look back. It's going to be short and sweet tonight.
Now, let's take a look back. On this day.
Also, that's what she said. All right. Okay, so Renee saying it's going to send you an alert every time I upload a new episode. So if you don't get a chance to, check me out live, if you subscribe to Google Play Music to my channel or to my show or whatever, when I upload a new episode, it'll be like, hey, douchebag, listen to this show or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. All right, so on this day in 1979, D. Bautista of Mexico, not the dude that hits home runs for the Blue Jays. That's what the hell is that dude's first name? Jose. Joey Bats, different guy, of Mexico. He completes a 20,000 meter walk in a record. I guess this is 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 6.8 seconds. I'm assuming that's fast. On this day in 1987, the World Series game. The World Series is played in a covered stadium for the first time. The Minnesota Metrodome. It was World Series number 84. And finally, told you I was going to be short. On this day in 2000, Patrick Waugh, spelled R-O-Y, but because I know all about hockey, I know his name is pronounced Waugh, of the Colorado Avalanche, achieved his 448th victory as a goalie in the NHL. Waugh passed Terry Sawchuk to become the record holder for career victories, and that is your very, very short edition of On This Day, on a Monday. Wait, where's the... All right. So getting back to what we were talking about earlier, we were talking about the Atlanta Falcons, of course, and my people here in the city, all butt hurting about what happened yesterday. And also, speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, make sure you guys chime in on the question of the day, brought to us by the good folk. Only one guy at sportsnewsandbrews.com. I heard Rob say what it is too, and I should have wrote it down. Your source for something, and craft brews. It sounded better when he said it. Anyway, sportsnewsandbrews.com. The question of the day is: should pass interference be reviewable? And you know what? We should have put a caveat on it that if you root for the Falcons or the Seahawks, you can't answer this question. That should have been the caveat on this, because like every Falcons fan, for whatever reason, Facebook always suggests you might want to follow this person. You might want this person to be your friend. It's always somebody with a Falcons jersey. I'm like, why the hell? Facebook is stupid. Or either that or some like big booty, Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj looking broad. Like, look, man, Facebook, I don't have time for all that in my life. I don't have no time for them issues, cuz. But for whatever reason, that's what gets suggested to the kid. I don't know why, but somebody need to call Mark Zuckerberg and get it straightened out before he start ruining some marriages around this piece. I'm trying to tell you right now. Back to the Falcons. There was a couple things that I forgot to mention, or I didn't get a chance to mention. I wanted to mention Dan Quinn and what his role may have been in what we saw on Saturday, and I found this to be kind of funny. When Dan Quinn was coaching this defense in 2013, they asked him about, the grabby with the players, Well, he said, quote, "The things we try to do is just educate what's going on around the league in terms of this was called in this game, this was called in this game, this was called in this game. It's called tight, no doubt, and we challenge and we play at the line. and we like that style. So for us, it's important just to know the kind of climate of how it's being called, end quote. Yeah, man. Real talk. That's your man. Like, in a perfect world, you know what he wants? He wants his players to play like that too. What up, I am No Dose? Like, I can't see those icons, so I'm assuming that's like some sort of middle finger or something when he's like, it's like these two squares and then it says Falcons. So I'm either assuming it's like F the Falcons or whatever. I mean, I don't know, man. Your squad got a little decent win yesterday. Can't stop nobody still, the Saints, but you know they're gonna put up some points. They gonna get. Speaking of putting up points, man, I got ramrodded in fantasy football this weekend. Ben Roethlisberger went down, and the dude I was playing had Drew Brees. Not a good look for the. And it ended up being a lot more respectable than I thought because when Roethlisberger got hurt, I just turned the computer off. I took a nap during the 1 o'clock games. I ain't even going to front. I was like, man, the Falcons don't play till later. And I'm really probably going to need to talk about that tomorrow. So let me go ahead and take a nap. Maybe, you know what, Renee? Maybe that's why. Maybe because I texted Renee earlier. It was like, man, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about today. Maybe that's probably the reason why, because I took a nap and I wasn't really just entrenched in football yesterday. So today it was like, God, I don't know what I'm going to say to anybody. But as you guys can see, yep. Just like a chick with a eating disorder. I open my mouth and just let the crap come out. Just purge. Somebody's gonna find that offensive, but sue me. Getting back to the Atlanta Falcons, though. Seriously, though. Even though I am No Dose apparently wants me to make sweet, sweet love to the Falcons, I will not. We'll go on to talk about what I kind of anticipated on seeing out of these guys. Like, Ben don't think this defense is good. You know what I mean? And I think they are. They came to the game giving up 183 yards passing. Now, I think Julio had like what did he have? Who knows? He had 140-something yesterday. So, the number one defense going against that number one offense, it's a real thing. And, again, what we know about the Falcons is what we knew going in. They're going to score some damn points. Now, if they can do what the Carolina Panthers cannot do anymore, will be key. And if you talk to any of these, and I'll tell you what it is in here just in a second, but if you talk to any of these sabermetrics people, they'll tell you that you can't quantify turnovers. You know what I mean? The Carolina Panthers took the ball away at an extraordinary rate last year. But that's not something that you can bank on year in and year out when you start talking about ranking defenses and how good defenses are, because that's a lot of those things come down to the tip of a ball, the bounce of the football, not necessarily 100% skill. And then you're seeing it this year with that team. We'll talk about them a little bit more here coming, as I move on here. I talked to you guys about the calls, kind of just balancing out, and where the things will end up going. The things that you should be proud of is the way the offense adjusted in game. Like last year, there was a problem for this team adjusting during the season. Starting off, 5-0, and then just going into the tank because everybody seemingly knew what the Falcons were going to do, except for the Falcons. I read you guys the quote from Julio a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of shows ago, when he was like, I don't know what the hell we're doing. We do one thing at practice, and we get to the game, we do something else. Like, yeah, that's a problem until it ain't. And now this year, you find out it's not. Like Matt Ryan in the first half, I think I heard Rondé Barber say he hit like 6 receivers. Yeah, here's the thing, Falcons fans. The thing you need to really be mad about is anytime the NFL gives you guys Rondé Barber as you're on the call of your game, you should take that as an immediate sign of disrespect. Immediate. He is the worst. And you could tell, like, the homie Chris Myers be trying his best to, like, pull him back from those long, drawn-out statements in which at some point you can tell he gets lost in. He has to just stop talking because he's lost in what he's saying. Yeah, enjoy that. The Falcons deserve better than that. I'll at least say that Rondé Barber should not be the guy. Maybe I like John Lynch could do that joint, Charles Davis, but the Rondé Barber thing, anytime the NFL or Fox gives you that squad, you should feel immediate disrespect. That was a pretty big game, and they gave you Rondé freaking Barber. So that's it. The Falcons got the Chargers this week. of course you want to win them all, I guess, as a fan, but the reality is this is not that team. The Falcons aren't that complete a ball club to where you look at them and say, this is a team that can go in and win each and every game. What you want to do is be exactly where they were on Sunday. You want to be in every game with the opportunity at the end, if it comes down to it, to win the game, to a play here or play there at the end of the ball game. You find yourself as a good team in those situations more times than not. This is the Seattle Seahawks MO. Look at their last 3 seasons. That's what you don't want to happen, especially when you at that place. You don't want to come down to the fourth quarter and that defense needs to make a play to win them the ball game, because more times than not, we've seen that team win ball games. We've seen Russell Wilson win them ball games in those exact situations. So if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you got a lot to be optimistic about moving forward. But I think, for what it's worth, the fans are taking this whole thing with Julio Jones and the pass interference a lot further than the players do. And I guess Dan Quinn's his response to it didn't really have, didn't take away from that. Like, he lost his everlasting crap on the play, and understanding that there were plays to be made before that weren't made. Moving on here though, to some of this other stuff that's going on in the world of the NFL. Let me close this down. I talked with Ben about Dak Prescott and the situation with Tony Romo. Here's the thing, I just history has told me that I should resist calling Dak Prescott the future of anything, because one of the things I say the most is that the people who call defenses, the people who play defense in the NFL, they get paid too. And a lot of times, we've seen so many times, the worst thing for a young quarterback is an off season. When people get to sit down and break down your each and every step, move and maneuver, it gets a little bit harder moving forward. And I don't necessarily trust the coaching staff that's around him to be able to help him mature and adapt. Now, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not going to be the dude to step out there right away and RG3 this dude or Andrew Luck this dude and, oh, man, he's going to be great. He's going to be a franchise guy. Nah, the real deal is, you've seen Tony Romo. And for whatever it is that you think about Tony Romo and this false narrative that's been placed on this dude's head, Tony Romo's won a lot of ball games in the NFL with a lot less help than he has right now. A lot less help than he has right now on this football team. One of the better offensive lines in the league. You got probably the rookie of the year, Ezekiel Elliott. I heard somebody mention him. I think it was Dan Patrick mentioned him in the MVP category, which I ain't mad at that. At this point in the season, I ain't mad at that. You know what I mean? You got a defense that's playing probably above their heads. They're playing a lot better than people expecting them to play. They're getting more guys. Well, they got DeMarcus Lawrence back last week. They made a switch with Brandon Carr and Mo Claiborne, who got knocked out by Sean. What's the kid's name? Sean Green. That's his name? The linebacker. Anyway, knocked him out. Concussion protocol for his ass. Friendly fire, I guess is what they call it. But they made a switch with the corners. Just a simple switch of switching them sides. Ron Marinelli switched them sides, and it seems to be working out for him. So, with all that being said, I would caution people the same way I caution people here in Atlanta, man. Just be patient. Like, let it play out. Enjoy it for what it is from week to week. But then, if the kid just shows up and throws 4 interceptions, they don't throw him in the trash then either. You know what I mean? It's like, understand that he is still a 23-year-old NFL player. That's everything he's doing right now, as far as the NFL is concerned, is new to him. You know what I mean? So eventually the league catches up with you. The great ones, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, the Drew Brees of the world, they're able to run. They're able to run fast enough to where the NFL's trying to catch up to them, but they hold them off year after year after year after year, and that's what you're going to have to see out of a guy like Dak Prescott. You seeing it happen with Cam Newton a little bit. You know what I mean? Now, his defense don't help him out a lot, but that's another story. The Ezekiel Elliott thing is very, very intriguing to me because of what we're going to see next year. Guys like Dalvin Cook, guys like Christian McCaffrey, guys like, of course, Leonard Fournette coming out in this draft next year. And what's going to happen, I feel, it's going to trick some people into thinking that, first-round running back, that sounds like a great idea. Protect our quarterback and bliggity blah, blah, blah. Nah, cuz. Like Ezekiel Elliott, man, he found a pot of gold. You understand that? Now, I'm not saying that the kid isn't a good running back. I think he's an awesome running back. But I also think Ty Gurley's an awesome running back, too. But Ty Gurley's not in a pot of gold. He's in a pot of crap with that L.A. squad. So before it comes to a situation where it's like, yeah, Leonard Fournette going to be a beast. Yeah, for who, though? Like, what? Like, you going to put him on what team? Like, who's going to be picking early next year? Who's these badass teams? The Browns, the Jags probably again. The Bengals suck right now. Like, these teams that's going to be picking early in the first round, like, which one of them got the foundation and the base already set there for a kid like a Leonard Fournette or Dalvin Cook, one of these good running backs? Because that's what Ezekiel Elliott got. He got it straight popping. This offensive line, it's plenty of times like that run against the Bengals, not even touched. He breaking off 150. It looks like Emmett in the 90s. Straight up. He's like a faster Emmitt Smith, man, and more athletic Emmitt Smith. And, again, that ain't no knock on him, but before people start getting carried away, understand, my take is going to always be the same, man. You give me a Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. I'll run that all day long. And if you lucky, give me one of those undrafted dudes that's just hungry and want to play some damn football. Can you run the ball? Can I teach you pass protection? All right, cool. Yeah, you ain't got to be the best to play, because the best that we've seen in the last decade, I don't know, has Adrian Peterson won any playoff games? Like, has he been a part of any playoff wins? Maybe one. Definitely no championships. Yeah, because it don't matter. Now they got, like, some kid from Georgia Southern and Matt Asiaga and Sam freaking Bradford and a defense that just won't let people breathe. And people talking about this team winning the damn Super Bowl without the best running back in the league. How you love that. I mean, yes, you can put Le'Veon Bell in that situation now, but I mean the best for the last decade or so. It's definitely Adrian Peterson. What else we got? Cam Newton, that whole thing. Now, you heard me talk about it in the last segment with Ben. Like, it's just kind of old now. And the problem with Cam is that the excuses are going to leave with every day that passes and every day older that you get. Ain't nobody looking at you as like, oh man, Cam's a kid, he's young, he's immature. Nah, dude, you're the leader of a football team. You're a kid that's got a kid now. That should put certain things into perspective, my man. And when it's all said and done, what puts Cam in those situations is Cam. It's those extreme highs while he's playing the game and while he's winning. And then the alternative after you do all that is to show people these extreme lows, and there's no middle ground, there's no temperance, there's no gray area in your reaction because of what the stuff that you put on yourself and the way you put yourself out there. It's like, my man, just be a big boy. Ain't nobody asking you no hard-hitting questions. They're asking you about the football game. I mean, they ask you about what happened on the football field and ask you to explain what happened and what did you see on the football field. It's not, come on, man. I can't explain to you just how much I was on this dude's side. That Super Bowl stuff, I was like, yeah, cool. If that's how he want to react in that situation, I can understand it because it's the last game of the season. It's the one that you worked all the way up to. It's the one that you dreamt about being in. And in a split second, everything was over and confetti and blue and orange confetti was falling on you. Yeah, I can see where that's heartbreaking. But, man, your defense gave up 48 points or whatever it was, 38, 40 points or whatever the hell it was to the Saints. Come on, man. Keep it moving. And like Ben says, like, you ain't the only one that lost the game. And you ain't the only one out there trying. And that's the impression it gives. Like, well, I just do what I'm asked to do. Come on, my man. Just be better. And I'm not even a dude that's like, being an example for the kids, because Cam only had to be no example for no kid but his own. But in that being said, you're still being a poor example. Like, I've met, and me and Rob have talked to Cecil, Cam's dad, man, and Cam seemed like that. His dad seemed like that. Like, I ain't raised no punk type black daddy. He seems like that type of dude. But of course, we get older and we go our own ways and we develop our own way of being. And it's not a situation where you blame it on somebody's parents, but it just don't seem like that's who that dude should be. You know what I mean? Like, okay, take the loss hard. but be better. And not just you be better as a leader, man. Make your teammates better. Feel me? Make sure you guys are answering the question of the day as well. It's brought to us by sportsnewsandbrews.com. I just opened up this this tab and I saw these responses. So I want to read a couple of these off. The question of the day is, do you think pass interference should be a reviewable call? It should be able to go to the booth or the review center and all these things. You can also text your answers to 404-902-8104. You can drop your answers right below my streaming video on my Facebook page at the number 1 MICWITHBIGMIKE. Miss Tasha Turner says, of course. I don't know why I put that on here. Because, I don't know why I put that on here. The one-word answer. King J. Free on Instagram said, after the refs swallowed their whistle while Sherman was arm wrestling Julio, hell yeah! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. So again, it's one of those, it's one of those questions that's kind of skewed towards, what happened yesterday. And all the Falcons fans are pissed off about a call that didn't happen that they felt like should have happened. Look, man, shout out to the kid Jason Hill as well, checking in on Facebook. He just hit me with the 100 emoji. I don't know what I said that drew that on, but I try to keep it 100 or 100. Let's see what else we got in the land of the NFL. I got to get to these damn too, man. These freaking scores. Okay, so Thursday I mentioned already that the damn I guess I don't have scores. Okay, there we go. The Chargers took another L. Or no, the Broncos took an L to the Chargers, which took them to 4-2. The Chargers now 2-4. The Chargers got to come to Atlanta next week. Anybody kneel down for the pledge or whatever it's called, the anthem in this game here? I'm looking at the start of this Monday Night Football game. I'm always now I'm paying attention to the anthem because apparently the Yahoos felt like it was cool yesterday to throw bottles at Kaepernick and start chanting USA, like as though that's not hypocritical. You know what I mean? It's like, MF, I know where I'm at. That's why the hell I'm on this damn knee, because I'm in the USA and I'm not in Quebecistan or no damn where. I swear, man, racist people so damn stupid. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Racist people are stupid. It's like that must be like a qualification to be a racist. Like, yep, gotta have at least a single-digit IQ. I got it, Bubba. And then you're there. It's like those dudes on Django with the with the eye holes, and the dude can put the hood on right. Yeah, it feels like all racist people are that. The 49ers, they took an L. We talked about that, the Colin Kaepernick situation. I'm gonna come back and talk about that in the next segment a little bit as well. They took an L, 45-16. The Bills on like this 4-game losing streak. They fired the damn offensive coordinator. I thought Rex was scapegoating that dude, but for whatever reason, they winning games. The Jaguars beat that bad Bears team. That's another team that's bad. And they got like a running back, like an undrafted running back that can play. Another guy. Yep. I don't know what one mic would. Renee is telling me about something new, I guess, that's happening now. The One Mike Wednesday wisdom quote. Yeah, wisdom on this show is very few and far between, boy. Jaguars, I already mentioned that. The Rams. See, not a damn thing don't want to scroll. God, man, I'm about to throw this damn computer out the damn window. All right, crap. The Eagles. Now it's just scrolling everywhere. All right, the Steelers took an L to the Dolphins. What was that, 30-15? The Rams took an L to the Lions. Shout out to you, Renee. You and Deshaun, Lions fans. The Bengals got ate up by the Patriots. The Saints and the Panthers, I mentioned that, 41-38. Ain't nobody stopped. Nobody. Ezel said it best. Did you even pinch the bitch? Nope. Not at all. The Ravens took an L to the Giants, 27-23. Odell Beckham Jr. went off 222 yards. It was about damn time. But then he went into, like, the foolery. Like, I'm the dude that don't even have a problem with, like, going off on the sideline or whatever he was doing because he thinks people are targeting him. Like, I think it's, like, the whole, like, proposing to the net and hugging it. Hey, miss me with that. dude. You know, like I grew up in the era of like Terrell Owens, the dude that was very creative with his celebrations. Not that foolishness. And Chad Ochocinco. Redskins took another one. 4 in a row for them, beating the Eagles. That Carson Wentz thing might be coming down to earth a little bit. The Browns and the Titans. Somebody had to damn win it, didn't they? But meanwhile, that damn Terrell Pryor, man. Like Terrell Pryor, he's like one of those dudes in the NBA. My man Jason Goff used to always say, like when somebody's like putting up like crazy numbers on these bad teams, like somebody got to score. Like that's who Terrell Pryor is. He's a somebody got to score guy. Quickly here. Raiders lose to the Chiefs. Cowboys take care of the Packers. And, of course, the Falcons lose to the Seahawks. And last night in that bad, horrible game that I went to sleep on, the Texans come back and win against the Colts. I'll come back with the last segment of the Monday episode of the One Mic with Big Mike show. We'll get into some of this college football stuff as well because some interesting things are happening. I'll get you guys the poll, the brand new AP poll and all those things for those of you who are concerned about that. I'm being heard right now on Spreaker. The Spreaker app, also on TuneIn, OneMicWithBigMike.com. You still got time to jump on in the live interactive chat room. Just click on that little thought bubble you see, that icon that you see on the Spreaker streaming player or on the streaming player on my website. You'll be right up in there, or you can leave your comments below the live streaming YouTube video at the number 1 MICWITHBIGMIKE, or text me your thoughts to 404-902-8104. I'll be right back.
I have one question for you.
Do you or someone you know run a business that could benefit from additional exposure? The One Mic with Big Mike show is currently taking on new sponsors and advertisers. One Mic with Big Mike is currently syndicated across 8 different online platforms, and your company's name could be heard and seen across all 8 as well.
Let's get to work.
Please send all inquiries to Mike at onemicwithbigmike.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued support.
All I need is one mic.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
And now, back to One Mic.
What are we waiting for? Let's get to it.
With Big Mike.
Flip side. Welcome back. Last segment of the show here on the One Mic with Big Mike show on a Monday. Appreciate you guys hanging out and joining me. Don't forget, if you missed any portion of the show, or if you just want to share it with your friends, man, if you want to tell your friends about the One Mic with Big Mike show, it's a little bit of a movement. You feel me? In a couple of weeks, we'll be doing this thing for a year. Man, that sounds crazy. Yeah, it's been a year since I started this endeavor, and I'm slightly pleased with the growth and the evolution of the show. I mean, we still got a ways to go, but that's going to always be the case for me, by the way. I'll never be satisfied. Renee will tell you that I never think anything is good. At best, it can be average, but it's just the way I'm wired. It's the thing that keeps me, pushing forward and trying to get to the next level and the level after that and the level after that, whatever it may be, for me personally. So if you missed any part of the show, the interview with Ben Troupe, my weekly interview with him, Troupe Talk. I don't even know if I want to call it an interview. It's just a segment, man. Me and a dude that played ball in the SEC and the NFL, just talking ball. You know what I mean? You can always go back to Spreaker. You can go to the app, download that thing for your mobile devices. Tune in, OneMicWithBigMike.com, my website, of course. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to iTunes, all my Apple users. If you're an Android user, subscribe to Google Play Music. And for everybody, subscribe to that YouTube channel. You'll be able to get the on-demand episodes of the video that I'm streaming live on my Facebook page, as well as the audio. If you don't feel like looking at my ugly mug, I suggest the audio, by the way. But, that's just my personal preference. Before I move on to college football, I want to give you guys some information. The homie Jason Hill, this kid has been listening to me on the radio since the Sports King. I remember arguing with him about Michael Vick sometime, but he's a Carolina Panthers fan. I think he went to high school with Rob, so I just assumed that he was a Falcons fan, but he's a Panthers fan. Here's some things to know about the Carolina Panthers as to why they may be struggling this year. Just bad decision making, and you want to point at the big one, the Josh Norman one, and that's probably a part of it. But this is the team who they entered the offseason with the 5th most cap space in the NFL. They had money to spend and money to burn. They could take some chances with the money if they wanted to. But for their money, they went and got Gino Gradkowski, a backup offensive lineman, Paul Soliai, a guy we know here in Atlanta, who don't hardly ever play. And those were their offensive those were their offseason signings. They thought they were going to be using that money, all that money they saved up to sign Josh Norman, but then decided against it, and he went to Washington to get his money. And let's keep it real, they got a better record. They playing in, I don't want to say they even playing in a better division, man, because that division's still kind of bad. I think the Giants are a bad football team. I think the Eagles are going to kind of regress to the mean. They released Ben Wickery because of that murder, that number 11, Quintorris Lopez Jones. The way he just executed that kid for $300. And then now they got a bunch of rookies, undrafted dudes, a guy from the practice squad, Zach Sanchez. This other thing, too. I've heard names like Sanchez and Lopez a couple of times this weekend, man. Like, the Hispanics are starting to play more and more football is what it seems like. They're playing better football because I'm hearing these names in the NFL more, and that's a cool thing because we usually think about things like when we talk about the Rooney Rule and minority signings, we think about the black coaches. Where the black coaches at? Well, all things being equal, talking about the Carolina Panthers, look around Rivera. Like, how many coaches got names like Rivera, Lopez, Sanchez, things like that? Nah, just one. You know what I mean? So in a world of minority coaches, he is a minority amongst those minorities, and I think it's cool if some of the Hispanic brothers can get out there on the gridiron and show what they got, man. They're already doing it big in baseball. It feels like I'm stammering and repeating myself. This is what happens when I take too many days off from talking. So yeah, they got these two, a third rounder and a second round dude playing corner. They promoted this damn practice squad kid. Like, that ain't good for nobody. Not when you went from Peanut Tillman, I call him the cover 2 Darrelle Revis. Well, I used to call him that, but Darrelle Revis is trash now, and apparently he's going to play tonight. So let's see how many yards Larry Fitzgerald get on that ass tonight. They can't cover anybody. They can't pressure anybody. Drew Brees this past weekend, damn near 70% completion, 465 yards, 4 touchdowns. This is 2 weeks after we saw Matt Ryan hit him for 500 and 4 touches. You know what I mean? You can't win no ball games like that. So, like, Cam doing all the pouty stuff, tell your defense to be better. Tell Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis and what's the big kid, his name? Short, the kid in the middle. Yeah, tell these dudes to be better at their job. Michael Orr been hurt, concussion protocol, whatever, so he hadn't really played, but he hadn't played well at all. They spent a bunch of money on him in the offseason, which, I don't know, maybe they got caught up in the movie, the Blindside movie or whatnot. Yeah, poor decisions have been made around this team. And the other part that I mentioned this last year, man, they ran a pretty elementary offense last year. You know what I mean? It was like a college style run game offense, kind of like what we saw with the 49ers back in the day. Power run offense. They used the quarterback a lot more, and not as much of the zone read stuff like quarterback powers, quarterback sweeps in this Carolina situation. Very, very collegiate. And the problem with that is Ben mentioned it earlier in the Troupe Talk segment. The off season comes, man, and these people whose jobs depend on them figuring out what you're doing, they gonna do it. And if you don't adapt, Like, you get not Devin Funches. Yeah, you get Devin Funches in there. You get freaking Kelvin Benjamin back off a freaking injury. These huge individuals. Greg Olsen's still going to be a beast. Ted Ginn can still run past everybody, but yet it just don't seem to be working out the same way. And a lot of that, like I just mentioned, is on the defense. Guys like Charles Johnson. I think he got like a half a sack. K1 Short. He had 11 last year. Got 1 this year through 6 games. You got to affect the quarterback. You know what I mean? You got to find a way to affect the quarterback. You know, yesterday for the Falcons, I saw Vic Beasley get his hand on 1 ball. But I hope everybody noticed what was happening to him on the pass rush situation. Stuck on the line. Velcro, homie. You know, straight Velcro. You know, ish happens, man, and sometimes you regress. You regress to the mean. I need to find my my top 25 because some things happened. Clemson, that near loss to Clemson or to NC State, set them back. But they're still at number 4. You know what I mean? So right now, for those of you who care about this kind of stuff, the top 10 goes like this. How's this gotten out of order? Bama at 1, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Washington right there on the outside looking in for that Clemson squad. Texas A&M, who they play Alabama this weekend. I think Bama has to go to A&M. Louisville, they still got to meet up with Florida. No. They play Florida State and Clemson. So basically, they waiting to see what happens in 2 weeks. If they can just take care of their business, they got to wait and see what happens in 2 weeks between Clemson and Florida State. Nebraska is next. Baylor. Houston, is that 10 yet? Houston's on the outside, right on the outside of that thing, looking in. Some guys, teams who are new to the poll. North Carolina's up in that joint. They just beat Miami. LSU's finding themselves back in the top 25. Tennessee dropped 9 spots after taking that ass whipping to Bama. And they got it pushed in, too. Like, you get to see, like, sometimes you see these teams, like, oh, no, maybe they might be all right. No. Bama's like, no, they're not. Let us show you. Another team who people thought they might have been all right, Ole Miss, down 11 spots. They just got it pushed in by Arkansas over the weekend. I saw a bunch of that game. Miami, Virginia Tech, no longer in the top 25. That Miami situation looked like it was going to be all right. Mark Richt, Brad Kaya, not so much. You know what I mean? Not so much. Michigan didn't even play, and they moved up a spot. Like, that's going to be some ill stuff with Michigan and that Ohio State situation if we end up seeing that at the end of the year, because eventually one of those teams is going to play Nebraska or Wisconsin from the other side. And, you know, for most people's, I guess, estimations, the Big 12 is going to be decided with that Ohio State-Michigan game. And I think Michigan, they might be up for what I've seen of Ohio State. They don't really blow me away. Straight up. They don't really blow me away. I mean, it was a slugfest this weekend against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin did some things that was kind of ill that Ohio State didn't expect. Ran a bunch of those jet sweeps instead of, you know, the typical Wisconsin, we're going to line up, we're going to hit you in the mouth when the game's over, we're just going to see who got the most points type of situation. Yeah, they caught them off guard, and Ohio State had to adapt, and that's why the game was so much closer than many people thought it may be. Didn't it go to overtime? It came down to the very, very end, and Ohio State got away with a victory. So that is that's your top 10, that Michigan State squad. Bad. You know, you're talking all that talk at the beginning of the year about respecting Michigan State. Not so much. Let me make sure I got everything. Oh, I said I was going to talk about Colin Kaepernick, right? I really don't want to. Somebody's about to score. Is this kid David Johnson? Yeah, he's a beast. This running back he's one of those unsung dudes. This kid for the Cardinals. He's a nice running back. Todd Bowles about to get his ass fired, man. You know what I mean? It's like he got this team and they all bad and they can't. Like, he's a defensive coach. They can't play no damn defense. Like, that's the worst part. Like, Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay, whatever. He's bad. You know, you go back in the draft, you figure it out next year. It's going to be a couple dudes that you can pick from. But if your calling card is this defense, you got all these dudes on the front four. You got this kid, you got Darrell Reeves that's supposed to be this guy, and they can't cover nobody. Yeah, man, it's a problem. It's a problem for Todd Bowles, man. I hope Woody Johnson and them dudes. But he old. He about to die. He want to get a winner before he croak. That's the problem, man. Like, Todd Bowles ain't going to have no long leash with that old man. Old white man at that. All right, Colin Kaepernick, before we get up out of here on the One Mic with Big Mike show. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Monday. If you're still hanging in there with me, God help you. I'm programming against Monday Night Football again. So, yesterday, Colin Kaepernick got his first start in the great, not in the great Northwest, they were in the great Northeast against Buffalo, upstate New York, against a Bills team. And Tyrod Taylor and the boys have been rolling a little bit. And Chip Kelly decided he wanted to throw Colin into that meat grinder. He got his ass grinded up. You know what I mean? And if you heard me talk to Ben Troupe, I don't root for players and all this kind of stuff. I like seeing certain players play football, but I've come to mature in a way where when those players go away, I understand they're going away. You know what I mean? Like when I was a younger kid, it was like, no, don't retire. My favorite player. But I'm a grown man now, and I understand how the world works. You know, it ends for everybody, and then when it ends for you, it'll begin again for somebody else. Just that simple. But in the case of Colin Kaepernick, like him ending, I don't know how good a thing it is. I think his platform, I don't know that it's that established right now where he and his voice would survive without football, as unfortunate as that sounds. So anyway, he goes to Buffalo yesterday, takes a knee as usual, and the Yahoos in Buffalo, they got all this craziness going on. They got T-shirts going on, and in the parking lots with Colin Kaepernick in the crosshairs of a rifle, and just real stupid, ignorant, racist stuff like that. They got a tackling dummy with an afro on it, and they out there screaming, tackle the Muslim. Sorry, I was about to say tackle the racist. I wish somebody would have tackled them damn racists. Tackle the Muslim. Somebody apparently threw a beer bottle at the dude. He got thrown out the game or whatever. He should have got arrested, man. That's like assault, cuz, with a deadly weapon. You can't throw no beer bottle at somebody from, upper deck. That's like assault with a deadly weapon, straight up. And I don't know if he was charging. I know they said he got removed. Colin Kaepernick said he didn't realize it was there. They asked him about it. Like, this dude has been, like, real, like, Obama-ish. That's a new thing, too. Yeah, I just made that up. He's been, like, real Obama-ish, like, real cool and calm about all the riffraff going on around him. And I want to go back to something that I mentioned last week as it pertained to Obama when he was at the prez was at at North Carolina A&T, and I talked about him being the right dude, the right black man to be the first president. The guy that kind of set the table. And, for whatever people want to say about Colin Kaepernick seems, as the days go by and the weeks go by, to be the right guy with the right temperament, the right vernacular. He has the answers to all the questions, the proper answers to all the questions that he's being asked. The things that are being thrown at him about people like your Supreme Court justices making comments about his protests. He's got all the appropriate things to say already, ready to go. He ain't me, a dude that's like would have just been like throw up the middle finger and like, yeah, come get me, a-hole. Like, he ain't that guy. And it's good that he's not. Because being the other way, you end up getting written off as a rebel rouser and things of that nature, and that's never good for anybody. Let me see. Do I have Colin Kaepernick's stats from yesterday? I think he ran for like 66 yards. He threw the ball for like $128. It wasn't. I ain't want my man to go out there. I ain't think he was gonna go out there and throw for 5 touches and 360 yards or anything. Not with that badass squad, but God, I wish it was better. It's to the point where after the game, Chip Kelly was asked, if Colin Kaepernick was going to start again. Initially, Chip Kelly says, I don't know, or we'll see is what he said. But then he came back, and now he's saying that, Kaepernick is going to be the starter, which is like, like when he said that at first, I was like, man, did they just pull the wool over this dude? Did they just like dupe this cat? Get him to lift his injury guarantee, as well as they put these playing time incentives in the new contract deal he just inked that says he plays a certain percentage of the plays as a starter. He'll get like an extra $1.4 or something like that. And it kind of equates to him starting every game to the end of the season. So, didn't. It looked bad. You know what I mean? It looked crazy. I don't know that I necessarily agree with Ben as far as Chip Kelly's offense. I think Chip Kelly's offense can work. I think not the way that he runs it. The offense itself, I don't think is the problem. I think it's the pace that he wants to go at. He goes at a pace that you would go at when you have 80 human beings or 90 human beings on the roster. You just throw like some redshirt freshman 5-star corner on the kickoff team or whatever. But in the NFL, like dudes, you got to play like defensive players on special teams and everything. So if you start going 3 and out and punting and defense has got to come back on the field over and over and over again, you're going to lose a lot of those games. You can try to outscore people in the NFL as much as you want to, but inevitably you're going to get stopped. And once you get stopped a couple times, your defense is going to be looking at you with the sideline like, come on, my man, help us out. So, Colin Kaepernick could get another start. You'll see Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. I think that game is at home. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's out there at Levi Stadium. And maybe that'll help a little bit, him. Because as cool as I think the dude is, as a human being, that stuff will affect you. It'll get your attention a little bit. You know what I mean? You walk into the stadium and ignorant folks are screaming stuff, and you've already received death threats and things of that nature. Yeah, the strongest of the strong. That stuff can get to you. Before I get up out of here, let me make sure I got all this stuff off of the plate as far as Kaepernick goes, as far as, yeah. Oh, I mentioned Big Ben already with the meniscus situation. That sucks. It sucks for me personally just because my fantasy team, I can't deal. This is the time in fantasy football where I give up. I do my Cam Newton, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's all fun while I'm winning. But at a certain point in the last probably 4 or so fantasy football seasons, I've just kind of been like, F it. I've been on some like, yeah, I'm just going to set it. Like that commercial. I'm just going to set it and forget it. You know what I mean? And the lineup just stays as what it is. If dudes get hurt, whatever. I'm actually trying to resist that compulsion to do that because I got better stuff to do than worry about a damn fantasy football team, especially when it ain't no damn good. But I'll go ahead and hold on and keep it on in there. Keep it on in there for as long as I can, because now I gotta go find like a bum ass quarterback now, because for whatever reason the people in my league feel the need to have a bunch of quarterbacks on their damn team. Maybe I can trade for somebody's quarterback, give them Terrell Pryor, for some backup quarterback. See, like stuff like that, it's just too much effort. You know what I mean? I just want to have my players stay healthy and play the ones I drafted. Anyway, NBA season about to start. It's the last thing before I get up out of here for the night and go watch some football. The NBA season about to start, and apparently there's some conversations going on about this new CBA to try to avoid another lockout. And they got this, like LeBron James he's a key figure in these conversations and these negotiations. And LeBron has been, like, for whatever you might want to think about or say about LeBron as a player, as a human, or he's a crybaby, what all these things. LeBron is he's formed himself into a damn savvy ass businessman, and he's one of those people who's able to highlight the things that are in his best interest, but also make it seem like it's in the interest of everyone else. You know what I mean? Like, now the thing is they're trying to figure out how they're going to divvy up the money. It's been 50-50. The new TV money is going to come in, so it's going to be everybody getting paid. And there was some thoughts that maybe the players might have wanted to like recoup some of the stuff that they may have lost in the last negotiations. The owners, of course, they want more. But apparently what's going to end up happening, they're going to meet on Wednesday. Adam Silver's going to be there. A bunch of folks going to be there. They can opt out of the current deal on December 15th, so they're trying to get something done before then, so there is no work stoppage. But the other thing that's in this thing is players are pushing for a fund to help retired players who need help with medical expenses and all that. And from the, in general, that's like, man, that's hella cool, man. That's cool for them to do that. But if you been paying attention, like, I read everything. I try to read everything as much as I possibly can. And I don't talk about it all. Like the NBA stuff, LeBron, a couple of weeks ago, was talking about, he's had like these kind of morbid comments about how, like, man, we on deck, we next. He's kind of like, I know white people probably didn't get the Life reference when Claude and Ray, like, yeah, we next, we on deck. But he was talking about him and Chris Paul, and he was also talking about Carmelo and the next group of guys, like once Dirk leaves, because we've seen Kobe leave, and Tim Duncan is gone, and Dirk is still there. Kevin Garnett is gone. Paul Pierce is going to be gone after this year. And LeBron is kind of envisioning his own athletic mortality. You know what I mean? Like, we the next group to be, talking about retirement tours and leaving and all that kind of stuff. So, in that vein, if I'm LeBron James and I'm the president of this joint, yeah, while we at it, let's throw something in there for the retired players too, since I'm gonna be one here in a minute. You can't front. Like, it's a dude that's like, for as much money as he's made and will make, it's always about the next step in the money. I don't know if you guys saw that Amy Schumer movie, Trainwreck, and like part of the joke, part of LeBron's, not even LeBron's character, LeBron playing LeBron, but just how cheap he was. Like, he didn't want to pay for nothing. Him and his boy go out for lunch. He's like, oh man, I ain't even got my wallet, man. I was gonna pay, but I don't, I'll get you back later. That type of deal. Yeah, man, you can see this dude, man, is a real, he's a thinking man's basketball player. He's like America's worst nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, the dude that ain't just about jumping and running and commercials. Like, a dude that's like, yeah, it's about to be happening. Like, years ago, LeBron was like, I want to be the first $1 billion basketball player. Current basketball player. Of course, Michael Jordan got his Billy post-career. But that man said he want to be the first $1 billion NBA player. And who going to say he ain't going to do it? Who ain't going to say he already ain't done it? What's the deal with Nike worth? $500 million? Is that right? Like, he did like $500 million with Nike for the lifetime of the deal? For his lifetime. Not the lifetime of the deal, but for his lifetime? Sweet. Yeah, man. Like, appreciate, appreciate LeBron James, man. The other thing I want you guys to appreciate as well, and I'm gonna preemptively say this too. I ain't trading. Okay, Renee. I don't care. Like, Renee want to tell me about the people she's not trading. All right. There's no. It's like, I'm about to unfollow you. Don't announce it. Just do it, pimp. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta tell me. Anyway, what was I saying about LeBron? Oh, no, not LeBron. This Golden State thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. It's happened. And it's going to be for real. Now, a lot of y'all going to be like, oh, man, that ain't no fair. Oh, and act like children about this thing. Don't do that. If you're a fan of basketball, just appreciate what you're going to see this year out of that team. It's going to be awesome. I don't make predictions on this show, but I don't give a damn. I ain't going to be wrong about this one. It's going to be awesome to watch the Golden State Warriors play basketball. Like, it was fun last year. You know what I mean? It was just fun watching these dudes play basketball. It's going to be even more fun to watch these dudes get major buckets, man. So, like, don't be that guy. Like, don't be the dude to fall into the trap of the KD versus Russ situation. KD find a better job. That's it. He ain't even call Russell Westbrook. For what? He ain't his agent. I heard today, I saw Jerry West on TV. He didn't even call Jerry West, who works for for the Warriors. Jerry West's son, who also works for the Warriors, had to tell Jerry West the damn logo that Kevin Durant had signed, or he made the decision to come play in Golden State. That dude don't owe Russell Westbrook nothing. Don't fall into that media trap of like, we're going to pit this black dude against this black dude. We're going to have the white hat and the black hat. Nah, man, they basketball players. One of them felt like he had a better opportunity to do something special somewhere else, and he took it. That's it. As far as me, I'm just going to enjoy it. For the ones who want to go scrunch your face up and Stephen A. Smith the thing, the Golden State Warriors just ruined the NBA. Yeah, go straight to hell on the express train with gasoline draws on. This is going to be awesome. Speaking of, I'm going to try to get an NBA guy on either this week or next week on a Friday so we can preview the NBA season as well. The programming note. Anyway, that's going to do it for the Monday edition of the One Mic with Big Mike show. Don't forget you can get the on-demand episodes on Spreaker, the Spreaker app, also on TuneIn, if you got that app on your phone or your tablet or whatever. Also on my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. You can also Get it on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, the iTunes, and, of course, the Google Play Music. And until Hump Day, where I'll be talking to my guy Matt Latofsky of the Sporting News about this awful fantasy football situation I'm in, I'll see you guys later. Or I'll talk to you guys then.